Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all having a fantastic start to your summer. It feels like it has been forever since I have been on here and posted new videos. Now that it is summertime, my goal is to publish lots of videos this summer and get lots of fun content out your way. Today I want to sit down and talk a little bit about how I am making money from my sheep. Currently I have a flock of 35 Icelandic and Navajo Churro sheep, as well as I have a few Rito Arcots, and I have some Icelandic and Navajo Churro crosses. Of those 35, there is 31 ewes, 2 fiber wethers, and 2 rams, and I think I'm going to be staying at that number until I move out in the next few years and have my own pasture space, but this is the perfect amount for the amount of land that we have and the amount of pasture space that I have and the hay and all that fun stuff. One of the huge reasons that I was drawn towards these sheep is that they're triple purpose. Triple purpose sheep mean that they can be used for dairy, meat, and wool. Having triple purpose means that there's a few different ways that you can profit off of your animals, versus if they were just strictly for meat, then you would only be making the meat sales. Having the triple purpose animal makes it that you have a lot more wide open space to play around with things, ultimately make more profit off of your animals. Each fall I breed my sheep. I breed them in November so that they lamb by the end of March to early April. And by the time that June comes around, the babies are weaned and they're ready to send off to their new homes. Breeding them is kind of just dependent on you as an individual. Do you want to deal with lambing? Do you want to deal with lambs? Then you have the extra animals you have to feed, have to worry about vaccinations and deworming and all that stuff. I know lots of people who raise sheep who don't breed animals. It's entirely dependent on you by yourself. I breed my animals so I have the option to ultimately expand my flock, and I can use my own genetics to expand. I also have the option that I can breed my animals and others around Canada can purchase my animals and bring in my genetics to expand their flock, start a flock. Another huge big thing with breeding your animals is that when you sell the lambs, they're going to cover the costs to feed the mom. Also going to cover it a little bit more. One thing with sheep is that most of them usually have twins. If your ewe has twins, you're going to cover her costs with the one, and you're going to cover her, the one is going to pay for her food and more, and then the second is ultimately more cash in your pocket, which can then go towards spending things for hay or electric fence, or just putting it in your pocket and saving it up. One thing with breeding sheep is in my flock, I only breed once a year, and that is ultimately because I don't need to lamb more than twice a year, and I don't have an indoor facility to lamb. If I had a barn, that might be something that I think about. Also, don't have a large enough flock to make it worth it to have 2 lambing seasons, because it doesn't make sense to breed the 31 ewes at a bunch of different times in the year. If you do have a bigger flock and you have the facilities to do that, so you can lamb in the winter, if you lamb more than once a year, it gives you a bunch of different times you're gonna have babies, which means more meat sales coming in, more breeding stock that you can sell, which in the end ultimately means more money is coming into your pocket. Breeding stock is one of the big things that I make money for my sheep in. It is only once a year, but it is such a large amount of money that is coming in all at once when you sell all the babies. Alongside the breeding stock, I don't only sell my lambs as breeding stock, I will keep a few lambs for myself each year, and the lambs I keep, they either become ewes that grow up and then they go into my breeding flock and produce lambs in the future. They also will stay with me, and I will butcher a few of them every year. Most of my cross rams, or my rams that I feel aren't going to mature into the type of ram that I necessarily want to send off to a new farm to produce babies in the future, those rams get banded, turn into wethers, and then those wethers ultimately go into my meat program and get them butchered. Because I raise Icelandic and Navajo Churro sheep, they do finish out a little bit slower than your common sheep breeds. If you think of a Suffolk set or maybe a Katahdin, like a hair sheep, a bigger frame sheep, mine take a little bit longer, so I finish mine between 10 and 12 months old. Usually have 2 butcher dates each spring, so I will do one, say, February, March, and then one again in April. Smaller lambs have a little bit longer to grow. Bigger lambs obviously can go first. So with my meat lambs, I only have income coming from them once a year. I only have it coming in the spring, around that March, April area. I sell all of my lambs as custom cuts. People can choose a half or whole lamb. I will send the animal to the butcher. The buyers can choose the cuts that they want and all that fun stuff, and then they can have awesome meat for their freezer in the springtime. Selling those meat lambs means that I can make a little bit of income that way. So I make the income from my breeding stock, but then also when I'm not making money from my breeding stock, I have the money coming in from my meat lambs a few months before I'm making profits from my breeding stock. Butchering the meat lambs is also a really nice option to make money from your sheep's lambs. Ultimately, that money can afford to pay for your flock, covers the cost to feed the mom and the dad of the baby. In the end, it just ultimately works out really well. Another big thing that you can make profits with is if you are butchering your lambs, you can choose to get back the sheepskins and the skulls, and then that becomes a way you can make more money off of the animals that you butcher while honoring the life of the animal. Personally, for myself, I have chosen to get back the hides from all of the animals that are butchered. It's my way of honoring the life of the lamb, using as much of the animal as possible. So alongside the sheepskins, I also get back all the organs, and those can get fed to the dogs, or you can use them in cooking and different things like that. It's just such an amazing way to use as much of the animal as possible and not let anything go to waste. I tan all of the sheepskins myself. If you are not interested in tanning like that, there are amazing tanneries across Canada and other parts of the world that you can find that will tan your sheepskins. I am one of them. I'm not like a tannery, but I do tan custom hides. Very small scale, like if you have one or two and I'm tanning my hides, you can bring them to me and I'll tan them for you. There's lots of bigger tanneries who would be more than glad and happy to help you tan your sheepskins and be able to keep that part of your animal. Once you have those sheepskins finished, they make an amazing decoration in your house. You can drape them over your couch and put them as an area rug. I've got some that are on my bed. I've put some over chairs. They're just beautiful and gorgeous, and I literally love them so much. Depending on the sheepskin, I sell mine between $350 to $500. All depends on the wool type, how clean or dirty it is, size of it. The larger ones, of course, are going to be a little bit more money. You can make anywhere between $350 to $500 or even more. I've seen some price a little bit more than that off of your sheepskin. So if you're making $400, $500 off of your meat lamb that you sell to the butcher, then you get that extra $350 to $500 or more off of the one animal. If you're butchering your animals, if you think of making $400 to $500 off of your sheep that you sell as a breeding stock, making that extra $400 as you include their sheepskin really makes sense, and you do end up making a lot of profit doing it that way. Back to a little bit of the flock, and kind of ties into flock management and all that stuff. But because I raise Icelandic and Navajo Churros, they are wool sheep, and wool sheep require to be sheared. If you don't shear your sheep, it's just not healthy for them. Wool is going to keep growing, it's not good for them. Shearing them is just a little haircut. It's like a human getting their haircut, and you get some beautiful fleeces off of them. The world of wool is endless, and there is so many different possibilities out there for different things you can make with your wool. Once you get into researching it, it's like there's so much you can do. And I think that a lot of people don't realize how amazing wool is and how many possibilities you have by keeping those fleeces from your sheep and processing them, or sending them to the mill, or sending them to spinners and fiber artists. There's such a big world of people looking for wool and really wanting to learn more about wool. And I feel like once you figure that out, no going back. You're stuck there. When I first got sheep, I ended up throwing out the fleeces that were sheared off of them. Back then, I had no idea what I could do with the wool, what possibilities there were. It ended up going in the trash. I was so lost. I didn't know anything about wool. We hosted a fiber processing hand shearing workshop in fall of 2022, I believe it was. After then, once you step in, you're not going back. That is all I have to say. We got to learn so much about wool, so much more than I had ever known about wool, and it was fantastic. And after then, got a wool washing processing guidebook, and I started out from there. I have now made it, I guess we're coming on, this will be my second fall that I have been keeping my fleeces and processing them. I have now been able to profit my fleeces, and I sell my fleeces to spinners and fiber artists looking to process their own wool and either spin it or turn it into felted pieces, if they were going to be doing any weaving of some sort, making living rugs, anything like that. For my fleeces, I average about 2 to 4 pounds of fleece per shearing. So that equals about 4 to 8 pounds per year of wool from one animal. My spring fleeces, I charge $35 a pound, $40 in the fall. Think of that if you have 20 sheep makes pretty good profit by selling their fleeces. And there's people out there who want it. Once you figure out exactly where, social media is a great spot. There's many different Facebook groups that you can find that are raw wool that you can sell on there. Etsy is also a really great place to sell your fleeces, but also if you have an Instagram page or any other social media platform, all really, really amazing places to grow your following, find people who are very interested in what you do, are looking to support your farm. Another thing with the wool is you don't have to just sell your fleece to spinners or fiber artists. You can also keep it for yourself, and you can process it yourself and turn it into other different products. I keep quite a bit of my fleeces. I will wash it and process it myself, and then I turn it into dryer balls. With the dryer balls, I have the option to sell them to people looking for more dryer balls or to switch over to dryer balls. I also can do wholesale orders. People can purchase them and put them in their stores. Not only do I make money from the wool by selling them to fiber spinners and fiber artists, dryer balls are also another way that I can make profit from my wool. Having the dryer ball option means that I make profit year-round. Just go out there to the shed, choose a fleece that I want to process, turn it into dryer balls, and make money that way. And lastly, just because all mammals produce milk, I honestly never thought about milking them. Every time I was like, okay, well, they're triple purpose, they can be used for milk, but I was like, I don't know, like what am I supposed to do with the milk afterwards? And I have found that first off, you can of course use it in your baking and in your house. You could use it in cereal, you use it in your icing that you use, or you could just drink it raw. Like you can do anything. There's lots of different things you can do. You can even make cheese. I love cheese. I can make cheese. Easiest for me, after the ewes wean their lambs, I will choose the friendliest ewes. I will milk them until they kind of start to dry off, so like 1 to 2 months roughly. All of that milk, put it all into the freezer, and then I can have different batches of soap throughout the course of the year. Try to freeze the tiny little mason jars that you would do canning with. I try to freeze between 6 to 8 of those. 1 jar of milk makes like 1 batch of soap. I can't remember exactly how much soap you get from 1 jar of milk because my mom does all my soaps for me. Doing soap, it's really easy to milk your sheep twice a day, morning and night. It goes all right into the freezer. You also have that income coming throughout the course of the year. I plan it so I have different batches of soap coming in at different times of the year, so you can have different income coming in at different times of the year. So in the end, there are ultimately many different ways that you can make money from your sheep, including breeding stock, selling their wool, making products with their wool, doing meat, selling their meat, tanning their sheepskins, or having their sheepskins tanned by a tannery and selling those, as well as milking your sheep and making soap. So those are 5 ways that I am making income from my sheep. Those are 5 ways that you could potentially think about when you were looking into getting sheep or making more profit from your flock of sheep. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, and if you have any questions, please make sure to leave them in the comment section and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.